Five Nights at Freddy's is definitely no slouch to the waifu department. You would think the horror genre would be the last series where you want to fuck any of the main characters, let alone the villains, because weirdly enough, a murdering, decomposing psychopath is pretty low on the attractiveness scale. But it only takes following the hype of RE6 to realize that that's not the case. In fact, a lot of you are some sick kinky motherfuckers who can't wait for a giant demonic lady to step all over you, okay? I'm not here to kink shame, but it is a thing that we see.
Listen, this is not a sexual thing, this is about power, right?
And apparently, it extends to murdering animatronics. And with the latest installment of FNAF, that trend continues. This time with a newcomer taking the title of Most Beloved Murder Bot, who will steal your heart both literally and figuratively. But to be fair, you did steal her eyes, destroy her, and mangle all her friends, so I think it's probably pretty fair. Her name's Roxanne Wolf, and she's the newest on the scene and most beloved animatronic of the group. But there's another female in the game, and her name is Chica. She's been around the longest and should have more emotional connection with the audience. And I'm not saying that no one has noticed her, but I think it would be lying to try to insinuate that Roxanne and Chica have an equal amount of fanfare. So why then are we positively obsessed with Roxanne over her? Well, stick around, buckaroo, as we dissect your weird feelings in your hearts and your pants about your favorite rockstar wolf. Because I'm Faith or Moliminous, and this is why we love Roxanne. So first things first, we need to establish the differences between Roxanne and Chica. I talk about the other males, but let's be honest, none of them really have any staying power in this conversation. Whether you like it or not, the majority of fans are males and heterosexuals, despite how hard they try to convince me otherwise. So typically, they're going to only be attracted to females or effeminate males. I'm sorry, no matter how many thigh-high socks Freddy puts on, he's not exactly capturing any straight guy's affection. I should also go ahead and mention that, well, a lot of this is about sexual appeal. It's not just sexual. The vast majority of the fan art and commotion about the game, be it benign or explicit, revolves around Roxanne more than any of the other characters. So she beats her in both the platonic and sexual ring. The question is why? Why? What is making people gravitate to this character over any of the others? Chica has a long history with the fan base, literally spanning a decade of content. As strange as it is to say, she was a lot of children's first waifu. If you were 12 when this game series first came out, you can legally buy alcohol in America. If you're in any other developed nation, you've been drinking for 4 years and are already an alcoholic. But using my scientific degree, I have mathematically deduced the reasoning as to why Roxanne just beats out Chica. And in this case, the nice guys are right. It's not about her bust, butts, or coconuts. It's about her personality. What's on the inside. And I'm not talking about an endoskeleton. Chica and Roxy both have somewhat similar designs, but there are some notable differences. While they're both equally feminine and rock the same kind of knee-high socks patterns with exposed thighs and arms, Roxy does have more midriff and it's also rocking more darker palettes, while still also maintaining being bright. It's a weird paradoxical design, but one that is definitely eye-catching. She also has longer flowing hair and dyed hair and piercings, which kind of makes her stand out opposed to Chica's more subdued Valley Girl look. But even when you take them on the fantastical side and make them way off model, as fan art has a tendency to do, where you can make them as busty or flat as you want, it still seems like Roxanne is the character that people gravitate to and make a lot more art of. She doesn't actually have a lot of dialogue in the story, but I think the little bit that we do see, especially in the intro, gives us a good idea of how she actually is and her personality. Her deranged monologue in her mirror after the show, her pep talking to herself about how amazing she is, how everyone loves her, and how she's everyone's favorite. There's a phenomenon that's getting pretty popular in pop culture now at this point called the dark triad. You may have even seen quizzes going around asking if you possess the traits of the dark triad. This is what's on full display here during this entire intro scene. The dark triad, as the name implies, has 3 distinct yet similar traits. It comprises narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. I think it's pretty clear that Roxy is a narcissist. Our main interaction with her at the start is spying on her as she repeats her mantra about how great she is in the mirror. It's clear that Roxy is aware how loved she is and and believes it to be the natural state. She's owed your affection, and those who don't love her are clearly in the wrong. The show didn't go wrong because of her, because she's perfect, so it went perfectly because she played her part perfectly. But if you keep listening, you'll start to notice something interesting. That whole mantra, it's not for an audience, it's not for a crowd. As far as she's aware, she's completely alone by herself talking to a mirror. And that explains why it starts to sound like she's trying to convince herself more than stating facts. It's a mantra to create a better sense of self than one would normally have. As someone who performs for an exceptionally judgmental crowd, I understand the need to have a greater sense of self. The nervousness that you have from the chorus of people telling you you're either not good enough or don't belong, or any number of things, really starts to weigh on you. You feel like an imposter no matter how many credentials you have or how successful you've been. You feel like it's undeserved, like you've been getting lucky over and over repeatedly, that you have no sense of skill. It's called imposter syndrome. It's where your biggest critic is yourself, your own inner demons telling you that you're not good enough. When you create this sense of self that's larger than reality, that's this ultimate perfect being that can't be wrong, that is beloved by everyone, it's an easy way to drown out those negative thoughts and ignore the haters. But it's also a key sign of incredible insecurity. Roxy isn't confident. Her ego is exceptionally fragile, and she almost has a need to be liked to function. And she needs to be constantly reassured that she is indeed beautiful and desired. It's one of the things that separates the narcissistic personality trait from the others in the dark triad, because it's the only one that's born out of insecurity. It also explains why on Roxy's raceway, there's a salon shop, because she needs to look her best, because she needs you to like her, because she needs your validation, because without it, the only thing that's left is her inner demon reaffirming that, yeah, you are a loser. It's why we find her breaking down, hysterical, all throughout the game. It's why a majority of her dialogue is her trying to tell herself that she's not a loser and that she's a winner. And between her hysterical sobbing, her Machiavellian inside is also exceptionally on display all throughout the entire game. She's cold, she hates others, and desires power and being the best. She'll do whatever is necessary to be seen as the best. She degrades others, a form of control and manipulation, if she has them constantly filled with self-doubt by exposing their flaws, or even just the perceived flaws. They'll never have time to notice hers. It's one of the staple parts of her personality people seem to enjoy, even more than her narcissism. They like being talked down to and regarded to as filth. It's actually pretty common according to most studies that I can find, with 40 to 70% of both males and women in the population at least having fantasies about someone degrading them in such a manner. It's why you find individuals who like to be stepped on, who like to be called creepy or wiggly. If you're a fan of anime, this trope is all throughout it. Whether you're talking about Don't Bully Me Nagatoro or any other show that's recently come out, there's a lot of times a bully main female protagonist that is kind of being a dick to the main character, but it's what people enjoy. Now, there's no real scientific reasoning that's been discovered as to why we enjoy it. It could very well be that the individuals involved are using it as a way to reconcile their own insecurities. It's a lot easier to take someone degrading you rather than them saying things like you're perfect or that they love you. Our minds can easily twist those words into just being lies. But if they say you're garbage and that they hate you, well, we're a lot more perceptive to that. It's a lot easier to accept that people don't like you than that they do like you. And while that sounds weird, it does seem to follow the trend of how we interact with social media. An individual might get thousands of likes on Twitter. They may have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but there's so many content creators who, when they get a couple of bad comments, they hyperfixate on that minority, that vocal minority of dissenters, rather than the waves and oceans of people who are supporters. This could just be an evolutionary trait for survival, because negative emotions and experiences resonate with us more than positive ones. Of course, that's just my opinion, and somewhat hastily formed one at that. There's just a lot in this section that could be unpacked, an entire degree worth of psychosexual analysis that I'm simply not qualified to fully go into. But I think her Machiavellian side and her narcissistic side are pretty easily on display here. The third and final one is her psychopathy, which in my personal opinion is more vague and overlapping with the three. As we've already established with the Machiavellian nature, all it does is re-establish that she is in fact cold and callous. But it also goes one step further to say that she has no true feelings for anyone other than herself. It's another reason why she doesn't care for Gregory's plight, and that there is no bargaining with her. They're all under the same programming, but Roxy seems particularly tenacious in her pursuit. She needs to find you. She has to be the first to find you, because if she's the first, then she proves that she's better than everyone else, and she has to be better than everyone else, because if she's not better than everyone else, then she's a loser. So Roxy fits the Dark Triad's personality traits, things that Chica and the other ones are lacking. All right, great. So what does this actually mean? Why does this make her more attractive? Because I'm sorry, but if you told me a girl looked like Scarlett Johansson, but that she's narcissistic, manipulative, and exceptionally self-centered, I'm sorry, but I'm probably not going to want to date her, let alone stick my dick. But apparently, according to science, the brain and the penis is fucking weird, because that's exactly what it does mean. We have an obsession as humans for the macabre, the dark side. There's a reason why in media, it's always the tempting force, something that's desirable, but we shouldn't desire, and because we shouldn't desire it, makes it even more desirable. There's a reason why villains are so often the people that we root for, whether it's simply a bad girl or a girl trying to destroy the world. And this isn't just kept to the fictional areas of our minds. It's branched out into the real world, and it always has. Even take, for example, a recent case revolving around a TikToker. He was a young, attractive male charged with vehicular murder. He killed 2 people, a mother and her 20-month-old child, during a street racing incident where he was going in excess of 100 miles per hour. That man was deemed too cute to go to jail from TikTok. And whether it was his allure of his face, his nice jawline and hair, making his crime seem lesser, or the fact that he looked so pretty and did such dark things making him more attractive, TikTok literally took to the streets to petition for this man to not be held as accountable as he should. Other TikToks about this person has a collective view rate of 2 billion views. And when this man was justifiably sentenced, people were shocked that it was as harsh as it was, despite it being completely deserved and in line with how the judge has ruled in the past. We love the dark. From mass murderers to terrorists to everything in between. Society has a fascination with not only the macabre, but those who break from some of our most taboo subjects. We're fascinated and intrigued by it. And it's not just anecdotal, this is testable. And recent studies to test our attraction to the macabre, to the dark, and to these types of personalities, researchers invited a large number of college students to their facility. When they arrived, they were photographed as they came, but then were also asked to dress down. This involved wearing of sweatpants, t-shirts, the removal of makeup, and if you had long hair, was tied up into a ponytail. They were then photographed one final time. These photos were then shown to the strangers, who rated the individuals on their physical attractiveness of both dressed up first and then dressed down. By comparing the changes between the ratings of being dressed up versus down, the researchers were able to figure out how much the rating could change by the addition of accessories, clothes, and makeup. Next, they did a personality evaluation with their tendencies towards the dark triad. They also asked their friends to rate them as well. Through the combination of self and peer ratings, they were able to calculate a final set personality score for each student. The dark triad score was positively correlated with their dressed up attractiveness. However, when you take away their ability to express themselves, they were rated no differently than the others. I'll remind you once again that Roxy has a salon right next to the raceway for a reason. So as this and multiple other studies suggest, the clothes really do make the man, or the dark triad animatronic furry wolf girl. From her stylized long hair, with her highlights, to her midriff, to her bright yet dark clothing and piercings, everything about her is a big, flashing warning sign that says trouble. And because of that, we're drawn to her all the more. With Chica's Valley Girl appearance, it's just no competition between the allure of the bad girl that you can't take home to mama. But hey, that's just a theory. A psychosexual analysis theory, actually. And I've been Faith from Moliminous. I thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of the other ones. We have ones on maid dragons, ones on invincible people that you can still see. We have all kinds of pony and anime videos. Check out the catalog. And if you really enjoyed this one, you can also check me out on stream at Moliminous Theater, where we're streaming every day. Hey, we're probably streaming right now, totally streaming right this second. Go check us out on both Twitch and YouTube, and also support our editor because he puts in a lot of work. All right, Max does a great job. I love your beautiful faces, kiddos. So I hope you at least like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.